a little bit of blusher on because another thing I find I have to be very careful with, because it too easily starts looking like rosy-cheeked. You know the Jolly Farmer's Wife? Just putting a little bit of blue on today, because this is one of the things I didn't learn at my mother's knee. I'm feeling my way. I'm enjoying it at the moment. I'm not sure if the time will come when it just becomes routine, like shaving used to be. But it's still a novelty, so I enjoy it, and I enjoy making up the new me for the day. A little bit of mascara. I've got nice long lashes. But one thing I've found is that you quickly get into a routine, and I can actually put quite reasonable makeup on very quickly. I'm not one of those girls who's going to take hours in the bathroom. Well, I do.
The transition from a man to a woman isn't easy for any transsexual. For Rosalind, it's even harder. She's a public figure, a Labour councillor in Bristol. But before she can have surgery, she has to spend a year living as a woman as part of a real-life test. And she's doing that while still working as a councillor. It was last May when the then David Spry was elected, and within months declared he wanted to become a woman. Should he resign or stay and become the first transsexual to change while still in office?
The temptation to actually step out of public life and go into hiding for several years and perhaps rebuild a political career later on is very tempting. Of course, this would have been the traditional path.
One of the people Rosalind turned to for advice was Christine Burns from the transsexual pressure group Press for Change.
When she first came to us and said, I'm a Labour councillor, I'm going to transition, I think therefore I need to resign and crawl under a rock, I put her right and said, don't. You'll have all the support you want.
But personal support was not enough. As an elected Labour councillor, Rosalind needed the backing of her party.
We looked at ways of dealing with the story so that Rosalind, as he had then become, was dealt with sympathetically by the media.
New Labour's spin doctors then took over, and Rosalind's story was revealed in a national newspaper, carefully managed to avoid the tabloids.
Certainly we examined in some detail, discussed in some detail, the impact that this might have on her ability to be a councillor and the public perception of the change. I don't think it was ever necessary for Rosalind to consider resignation.
So, with Labour's official backing, the party's hatred of discrimination, and a tradition for supporting minority groups, no matter how controversial, Rosalind was confident she could carry on with her political career.
How are the other councillors? How do they treat you?
Mostly they treat me just as another colleague, another councillor. It's just a perfectly normal day's work.
But behind the scenes, the cracks were beginning to show. The support from some Labour colleagues not as solid as Rosalind first thought. She's at a council meeting open to the public, but Labour wouldn't let our cameras in. A group decision put forward by Councillor Mervyn Hewlin. We wanted to know why.
No, I'd like to know why you didn't want the cameras filming. Look, not comfortable with you or anybody else.
New Labour in some ways is a bit of a myth. The old guard is still very much with us. It's still very traditional minded and resentful of anything new.
I think there are a number of people who originally were prepared to be sympathetic and supportive. I know that's the case. I think they now feel that their trust has to some extent been undermined by the media strategy which Rosalind has decided to pursue.
There's no way I'm going to follow any traditional path of crawling under a stone, because I'm here, I'm in public life, and I'm showing the world, and I'm showing other people like me that it's possible to do that.
A lonely walk home for Rosalind, and Labour considers what to do about Councillor Mervyn Hewlin's behaviour. No official action is taken. Like most transsexuals, Rosalind's struggle to come to terms with her identity started at an early age.
I mean, I certainly had my first inkling when I was 5, so it had been going in and out of my mind for some considerable time. What I always felt was a sense of bewilderment, a sense of things that things really weren't quite right. Things didn't fit. I graduated and I did a year's teacher training, and then I got married. And several years after that, I had my daughter was born, Karen, who I was absolutely bowled over by. I absolutely adored her. I never felt fatherhood felt right. And it's one of those things that I really can't explain, but I'm afraid to say I walked out of the marriage and I walked out on this child that I adored. I mean, it's for something that's very painful to me. Probably one of the most distressing episodes in my life. Not something I even now find very easy to understand. This is me being part of what might be considered as a very male activity. This is the winning pub quiz team. That's me there on the right-hand side as captain of the team. Very shortly after that, I got married for the second time, and to Mary. Society expects you to get married. So, you know, to try and prove yourself, that's what you do. And I had 2 goes at it.
Like many similar patients that I see, Rosalind has denied her transsexualism for many years. She's tried very hard to prove that she's male.
The last photo.
Well, this is an interesting one. I mean, it's historically interesting because this is the last known photograph of David. I thought I was going to miss him, but I'm not sure that I do.
Often, while they're in denial, while they're focusing on improving themselves, their gender problems, their social problems associated with that have been put on the back burner, and it's in their late 30s, 40s that a midlife crisis occurs, and then what I call a female takeover occurs. They need to express themselves as the woman they feel themselves to be.
This is proto-Rosalind on her first outing to Glastonbury Abbey. That's my first time out in a frock. Started the day feeling very awkward and ended it up being a little bit overconfident because I enjoyed myself so much. And somewhere in the middle, I guess I must have got it about right.
Rosalind's getting used to living as a woman. She feels comfortable with her new image, although she still has to cope with the stares from a curious public.
I'm aware sometimes that people are looking at me. Sometimes I go past people and I'm conscious of them turning around to look at me from behind. I don't know why that happens. Certainly in the very early days, I was very conscious that people might be looking at me, but it really didn't take very long to just get into my stride and act as if I was just another woman in the street.
Do you like shopping these days, Ros?
Well, I think it adds a whole new dimension to shopping. I used to hate it, but it's now become quite an enjoyable experience. Never know your luck. You may even end up in something like this one day.
What, the bride's dress?
Well, they'll have to change the law first, won't they?
As the law stands, Rosalind cannot change her birth certificate. Legally, she's still a man. That argument's now being fought in Europe. But for now, she has more important things on her mind.
Why do you like that one, Ros?
It's just the colour that caught my eye. I think it's very me, don't you? Oops.
Go to the...
I think that looks great. I think that's really suits me, don't you think?
What do you like about it?
Oh, it's a nice classic line. It's very smart. It's got that sort of kind of long length that I think really suits me. It's very comfortable. It's flattering. I love this jumper, don't you? We always have to bear in mind it's the woman that makes the clothes and not the clothes that make the woman. So.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Enjoy wearing it.
I will. I think people are beginning to understand that it is a medical condition and that it is treatable, and the treatment is livable with, and it doesn't affect my work.
It's important to keep up with the council work. It's on that Rosalind hopes to be judged, not on her private life, however public that may be.
It's a fairly typical surgery. We've got a couple of people in talking about their problems, and Just make notes and we'll get in touch with the relevant officers and try and sort them out as quickly as we can.
It's at these surgeries that Rosalind keeps in touch with her constituents. Their support is vital and comes in surprising ways.
We thought because she's done a lot for the centre that it'd be a good idea to present her an appreciation with a bunch of flowers. I think she's wonderful. Well, to do what she's done and to stand as a councillor.
Councillor Mitchell is absolutely wonderful. What a wonderful character we've got, and it's what a wonderful person and all the goods that she's done in this area. She's helped me personally many a time and many other people I know about.
I think I'm doing a good job. I think I'm performing a service for my constituents. My constituents like me. They come to my surgery and they thank me for taking up their case and following it through. That's all they can ask of a councillor.
From the council's surgery in Bristol to the private clinic in London. If Rosalind is to succeed in her real-life test, then she must convince her consultant.
I don't think twice about being Ros anymore. I don't even wake up in the morning and try to remember what my name is.
Just try and tell us about the actual business of expressing yourself in female role. I mean, is it like an actor doing an act, or is it something that's natural to you? Or
I would feel it quite daring if I went down to the council house wearing a skirt, and really not very long ago. And now I don't even think about it. I get up in the morning and I just get something to wear that I like and put it on.
The real-life test requirements of the guidelines that I follow require you to live for at least a year successfully in your female role. I don't know of any
It's
other
only after a year living as a woman that Rosalind will be considered for the final stage of her treatment.
I thought very carefully about surgery, and I don't have any problems in myself about the process. I'd want to feel sure in my own mind that I was ready for it.
She's now halfway through her real-life test, only 6 months to go. A chance now for Rosalind to give some support of her own. She's meeting Tim, or Teresa as she's now known. It's Teresa's first visit to the private clinic and she's nervous.
So how do you feel about this afternoon then?
Absolutely petrified, to be honest.
Teresa knows she must convince Dr. Reed that she is a transsexual and that she needs treatment. But there's time for a quick drink to calm the nerves.
I hope I get a referral this time.
Well, I've heard lots of things about sort of Bristol being sort of the nicest man in the world and things,
but the important thing to remember is that Russell is not there to turn you down, say yes or no.
Yeah.
He's there to help you reach your own decision.
Yeah.
So, and if you're like me, you know what your decision is before you go in there. So.
It's time for Teresa's appointment. In 1 hour's time, she'll know if she's been accepted for treatment.
Well, you've got it. Well done. There's clear space there. Well done. How are you feeling?
I would have this effect on my patients.
She's got what she came for. She's been accepted. Her life is about to change.
Oh, I just can't believe it. You know, all these months of sort of worry and sort of sleepless nights and it all comes down to one little piece of paper.
Back in Bristol, and it's the annual meeting of the women's section of the Bristol West Labour Party. Rosalind's going for the first time tonight, but will they accept that she is a woman? Her birth certificate still says she's a man.
How do you feel at this point? I feel about as nervous as I've been about anything so far.
Why?
It's quite an important moment, and it's certainly a key moment in acceptance. One of the problems I face is whether people actually see me as a woman, however supportive they are.
But they wouldn't let us film in the meeting, and within minutes, Rosalind was thrown out.
Well, I have to say that they took a vote on whether to accept me as a member of the meeting and put it to the vote, and they asked me to leave.
Did they say why?
No reason given.
How do you feel about that?
I'm very disappointed. I think it's a setback. It's not just a setback for me personally, but a setback for the cause of being accepted.
Women within the Labour Party have always had the capacity to hold their own meetings and exclude men from those meetings. Men are there by invitation rather than by right. The essential question is whether that meeting regarded Rosalind as a man or a woman. And clearly at that point in time, I would suggest that the majority opinion was that she was still, to all intents and purposes, David Spry.
One reason I'm a little bit disappointed is that if this were the Liberal Democrats, they would certainly have accepted me as a full woman member. But I mean, I wouldn't want to go into any other political issues around that. But
Suddenly, the women's meeting is cut short. We wanted to know why.
I wonder if any of you would mind explaining. If you would mind explaining.
Is that
you
the
say
end of
why?
the meeting?
Our understanding was that Councillor Mitchell was actually accepted as a female member of the party, and you've declined to accept her in your group. Would you care to comment? Do you think this shows an openness of New Labour towards such quite challenging issues? Do you have any comment at all to make?
I'm prepared to accept that Rosalind is now a woman and therefore should be given the rights within the Labour Party that women have. But that issue needs to be talked through carefully with other women members.
I suppose you're an actual party colleague and councillor colleague of Councillor Mitchell, and she's not been accepted by the group there. Why?
I've been asked not to say anything, I'm sorry.
Grow up. Grow up, get educated. Stop behaving like thugs. Stop behaving like the ignorant people you're painting yourself to be. I'm sure you're not. I'm sure that if you took the time to understand what Ros is really going through, you'd be thoroughly ashamed of the way you're behaving towards her.
Labour says the women did nothing wrong in excluding Rosalind. No official action was taken.
We have to try and persuade people, we have to try and educate people, we have to arrive at a situation where people understand or are given the chance to understand the whole bundle of emotional and biological difficulties which are associated with this transsexual problem.
a couple of people are not very sympathetic, let's say, and cause a bit of mischief.
Is that the men or some of the women, or?
I have to say hostility comes from both sides. It surprised me a little bit. I expected women to be more sympathetic because, after all, I'm joining them.
That's right.
So I can really shrug them off, especially as time goes by, and I do feel I've got the support of the people I represent.
Yeah. Well, I hope people will start to realise, what it looks like from the other side.
I hope that one of the things we can do is educate and inform people so that all the misunderstanding is cleared and people will actually understand that we're real people and we're not freaks and we're not perverts. And
you're a real person.
I'm a real person.
Yeah. The difficulties aside, Rosalind continues with her treatment. One of the most important things for any politician is a strong voice, and Rosalind needs to be convincing as a woman.
Moan. No, shift it forwards.
Moan.
That's better. Take your time a little bit now. Bring it forwards. Excellent. Push it from the lungs. Relax into it. So when you're ready. That's better. It's important to first of all feel the breathing and get a nice.
It's obviously important that I'm presenting the right image to the world. I mean, I want people to see me as a woman. I want in time just to be seen and to slip into the landscape quite naturally as a woman.
Playfully.
Playfully.
Plentifully.
Plentifully.
And some even longer ones. Poppadom.
Poppadom.
It's really trying to achieve a comfortable, natural sound that the person is happy with, that is as convincing as possible as a female voice. So what I'd like you to do is to read the passage, first of all in David's voice, and then I'll stop you halfway through, and if you could change over to using Ros's voice, that would be great.
Then a cloud of smoke obscured the mouth of the cave, and out of the midst of it the dragon himself, shining, sea blue, magnificent, pranced splendidly forth. And everybody said, "Oh!"
It's particularly when Ros needs to address meetings, council meetings and public meetings, and the work that she is doing there, where she needs to address a group of people and she needs her voice to carry.
His scales were glittering, his long spiky tail lashed his sides. St. George lowered his spear, bent his head, dug his heels into his horse's sides, and came thundering over the turf. "Oh, well done, dragon," cried the boy excitedly. Didn't think he had it in him.
This is not a decision that people undertake lightly. They have been through an awful lot, and it's something that we must respect their decision, and enable them to lead, as normal lives as possible.
Out on the streets, and Rosalind does her bit for the Labour Party. She's canvassing support for a council by-election.
So you're going to start at number 1?
Yeah, if you want to.
I'll go to 1A.
Yeah, what we'll do is work along the street, taking alternate houses all.
I mean, this is part of what you do as a member. You come out, come rain or shine, and
please knock.
Come to the party's aid when you're needed.
I told the Liberals I hadn't made my mind up.
And you've already got a poster.
I have.
And that's wonderful. And can I
Yes.
give you one of those?
Okay. Yeah, okay. So
Lovely.
I don't forget, because you need the vote, because it's going to be dodgy, isn't it?
It's important to keep up the reputation in the party of the hard-working member, which I hope always have been and always will be.
But Rosalind has a problem. She's out of work and in arrears with her council tax.
I'm a little behind with my payments. Problem being that I haven't worked since April because I've been unable to get contract work that fits in with daytime council duties.
The debt could cause serious problems for her in her work as a councillor.
Legally, it means I cannot vote at the budget meeting, which may well mean that I'm unable to attend the budget meeting. I've heard a couple of whispers that sort of people have been stirring about this. I think trying to cause a little bit of trouble, and I think once again it's a matter of any stick to beat me with, because they're uncomfortable with me in the position I put them in. Probably wasn't the wisest thing to do, but we all make mistakes.
It's potentially a big mistake. If Rosalind is to survive as a councillor, she must avoid any controversy. The budget meeting is the most important in the political calendar. It sets the council tax. If Rosalind can't turn up because of the debt, there are those who could use that to damage her political career. But the debt is paid just in time, so she attends the meeting. But she's disappointed at the lack of support from some of her Labour colleagues.
One thing that surprised me is that I expected hostility to come from members of the public and colleagues to be okay, but it's turned out to be the other way about. That I think some people are resistant to anybody who dares to be different. But I wonder what they feel the alternative would be. Would it be just to make them feel comfortable, just to carry on just getting by, or to actually spend your rest of the life being happy in yourself and being true to yourself?
Time for a break, away from all the political troubles. Time for a new hairdo.
Is that okay for you?
No, that's fine. That just feels nice. I love having my hair done. I always did. No, that's not quite true. I mean, when I was very small, I used to hate going to the production line barbers. I like to keep the length. I like to keep trying to get it longer at the back. I mean, it's great. I've got lots of things I can do with it.
And like women the world over, Rosalind shares her troubles with her hairdresser.
I don't quite feel why am I doing this. I'm sort of quite happy if I did it, but I mean, I sort of wonder if it's then worth the hassle of. Sometimes I feel it would have been a lot easier just to have gone away somewhere and
made a
complete fresh start.
Yeah.
It's important she looks her best. Tonight's another test for Rosalind, the woman.
I've been a bit nervous about this, but I used to do Le Rock dancing, but I only know the men's steps, so tonight I'm going back to learn the women's steps.
Do you have to go with a partner, or do they just teach you when you get there?
You stand in two lines, one line of men, one line of women, and you move partners. You don't stay with the same person for more than a couple of minutes.
7, 8. Tap right, left, right, left. Your hand is squeezed, taken high, spin out, back on the right, return back on the left. Ladies, getting ready to tap right first. So, tap right.
It's not so much the steps I forget, it's just because I have to do it differently and I have to do the other foot.
Return back on the left.
One thing I have to remember is to do a different grip, and I have to remember not to try and lead, because I now have to do a lot more spinning than I did before. So you get dizzy very quickly.
And again, 6, 7, 8. Step back. In and back. In and...
What's important now is that I do enjoy my dancing, and I want to learn to be good at it from a new angle. I don't know how people are going to react to me.
In and back.
I was very nervous before I came, but everything I do for the first time now is a nerve-wracking experience.
You've got to have a thick skin, a strong personality to make this work. The difficulties lie, though, still in acceptance by society. That's the number one big problem.
If we're ever to come to terms with perhaps our own prejudices and preconceptions around this idea, then we do need to talk about it. It does need to be out in the open. Perhaps Rosalind is actually doing a service to the wider transsexual community.
But I think in actually doing what I've done, and doing it in public life, and I've trod a path that nobody's ever trod before.
She can walk tall and come through this, and at the end people will say, wow, wasn't she good?
I can't think of any one thing that I would have done differently. I think it's all gone very well. I mean, a couple of setbacks, but they're minor things. And I'm in the open, and people know what I am, and I'm proud of that. I'm Rosalind Mitchell, I'm a woman.